Now, Russell's back with me. We were talking about Prince Andrew, weren't we? Potentially could be homeless.
Oh, yes.
What's going on?
Well, our heart bleeds.
Indeed.
And said no one ever. But, yeah, I mean, interesting story, though, because this is all part of King Charles shaping his legacy. What does he want the future to look like? And we've already had sort of visions of a slimmed-down monarchy. We've had sort of the family being pushed to the front and centre. That's William and Kate. Their children, they are going to be the future. However, all the sort of minor royals, including the ones who have stepped back and sort of been elbowed out the way, such as Prince Andrew, have a very different role to play. And that means that Andrew could see his very nice allowance, his £250,000 allowance from the royal family, taken away from him. And what does that mean for his living quarters? Because he has the run of Royal Lodge, which is a beautiful £30 million valued place in Windsor, on the Windsor estate. And if he can't afford the upkeep, then he would have to leave. So a lot of people saying, does that mean that essentially Charles is going to evict his brother? Well, I'm told that there will be sort of no eviction, so to speak, but it does beg the question, what is he going to be up to? And, you know, your guess is as good as mine at the moment. Yeah,
because we don't know. I mean, there was some rumours that he would go to America, but to do what?
Well, I mean, very much keeping a close eye on Harry and Meghan, we've been told. I mean, because they've made a success of their life out in America. I mean, they're lumped into the sort of same mode, really, sometimes, aren't they? That they're
they shouldn't be. He's
from the royal family. But you're totally right.
He's far worse than
the situations are very, very different.
Right.
So, I mean, he could be asking Fergie for Oprah's number. She did that very famous interview in 1996.
I don't think Prince Andrew should do any more interviews with anybody ever.
But that has been rumoured. You know, will he be taking some more interviews? Will he want his say? Of course, Virginia Giuffre has kind of shape-shifted from her legal cases with certain other individuals. So will he be launching a legal case? Will he be doing interviews? I mean, I imagine the royal family would just hope that he fades away into the background at the moment.
Indeed, and just be quiet.
And just be quiet, yeah, it would do us all a favour.
Exactly. Now, tell us about, you mentioned Harry and Meghan. There's still this sort of ongoing row, isn't there, over security, especially security when they're both either together or on their own, when they're over here, you know, so they're protected. Which
could mean very, very soon, because we have the King's coronation, less than 100 days, May the 6th it's going to be. Will they, won't they turn up? I mean, it's 50-50, I suppose, at the moment, of course, but I mean, I think they will. Will Harry come on his own? But the issue of security is a real point of reference for them, because they're saying that they can't come to the UK, they feel in danger. Harry said he didn't want to bring his family here. Of course, they did come to the Jubilee, but they were in and out. They came for the funeral, and but this issue of security, the British taxpayer has picked up a bill of over £300,000 and counting at the moment. And that
on security, or
yes, because the Home Office are being taken to court. It's a high
court bills, you mean?
Yes, on court bills.
So, and then after the book, when he mentioned about, you know, the killings in Afghanistan and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, they are...
Security's a huge issue.
He is a son of a monarch.
Yeah, he needs security.
He should be protected to a certain point, but that security will exist if they do come for big family events, such as the Jubilees, such as the Queen's funeral, and such as the Coronation. However, Harry's digging his heels in on this one, so it's costing us an awful lot of money. And when he's saying that he doesn't want the taxpayer to foot the bill of his lifestyle, well, I'm afraid he hasn't got a leg to stand on.
Because already 300.
Absolutely, and counting,
in a court case. I wonder if they've seen South Park. If you know, you know.
Well, there was a couple of stories about their lawyers are probably getting involved, but I mean, it's...
good luck with that.
As George Clooney said, if you haven't been in South Park, then you're not doing it right. So, that, you know, you've got to have a laugh at yourself,
take that, say it's OK. Now, look, you mentioned the coronation. Lots of plans are happening. It looks like Andrew Lloyd Webber is going to be involved.
Yes, friend of the Royals, Lord Webber. He is composed the Coronation Anthem, and he's obviously said he's been incredibly honoured to have been involved. There's going to be a wide range of music. I mean, the styles, classical, sacred, film, television and musical theatre. These are part of, I think there's 12 different, completely brand new compositions that have been asked for by the King. And there's a lot to look forward to, I think. Lord Webber saying that it's going to be fitting of the joyous occasion that the coronation is going to be. And even if you don't love the royals, we all get an extra bank holiday. So what is not to love about that weekend?
And I know how important music is to him.
Yes.
With everything, like with the funeral, weddings, all of that.
Absolutely. We had the Kingdom Choir, which was his idea for Harry and Meghan's wedding. There's going to be some Greek Orthodox music as part of it as well, as a touch of sort of in tribute to his late father, Prince Philip, as well. So it's all going to be there. So lots to look forward to.
What about the fact that there are some massive stars who are not going to be there, we think?
Well, indeed. I mean, surely you'd clear the diary if the King asked you to be involved. But certainly we've been reported that Adele, one of the biggest superstars in the world, alongside Ed Sheeran, another one of those superstars, has actually turned the King down. They have snubbed him for this weekend. There's going to be a big coronation concert over that bank holiday weekend.
Right.
I mean, I find it extraordinary. Surely you would clear the decks. I know Adele's got a big sort of residency in Vegas. Ed Sheeran might be touring, but come on. Come on, Ed. Come on, Adele. Come on.
Well, join me now, Labour MP Jess Phillips, Shadow Minister for Domestic Violence and Safeguarding. Well, what she's calling for is more neighbourhood police to somehow rebuild that trust, because we've got to, haven't we? It's broken.
Yeah. There is... I've never known a time in my life where women, specifically women, feel so let down by the police and weary of them. And for the women I work with, and so, you know, like the women that Susanna was just talking about there, who've suffered sexual violence, who've suffered domestic violence, it's just, it's not a privilege that they can afford. They have to be able to trust the police. We need to be able to rely on police officers. And so we've got to find a way of rebuilding that community trust. And so what we want to see is proper neighbourhood police teams back in our communities to do that work.
Because I think when you see that happening, when you see Bobby's on the beat, as it was called, it does give you a sense of security, and it does act as a deterrent. We know that.
But the amount of, I mean, when I was growing up in Birmingham, post sort of gang violence in the city that I grew up in, and quite a lot of distrust in the police, huge amounts of effort went into neighbourhood police officers doing things like going into schools, going and working in communities and doing that community work that often gets sort of, you know, people will say it's meaningless and they shouldn't be doing it. But if you're a woman and you live on a street and your husband's bashing you, you're much more likely to speak to the PCSO or the Bobby on the beat that you saw at your kid's school doing the work. I actually don't think we can build rebuild the trust and confidence that have been lost in the case of Sarah Everard, in the case of David Carrick, without doing this vital bit of community policing that rebuilds that trust in our neighbourhoods. And so, you know, Labour will put in place 13,000 new police officers specifically to do that neighbourhood work again.
That is vital. Also, recruitment is vital, because we don't have enough police officers right now.
No, we don't.
And we've seen that there are some very dodgy characters, that's putting it mildly, who have been recruited. Now, that has to be sorted out as well, surely.
I mean, I think that anyone in the public, anybody watching this now, would think that there was a standard that had to be met in every single police force, of the 43 police forces across England and Wales. You'd think that there was a vetting process that was standardised. You'd think there was a disciplinary process. Well, there isn't. You can have one process in Gwent Police that you'd have a different one in West Midlands Police. Now, you know, absolutely what we are calling for is a set of standards from the Home Office, from the Home Secretary, to say that you have to reach these certain standards, you have to be vetted, and when you commit or are being investigated for crimes like domestic abuse and sexual violence, like in the case of David Carrick, you are immediately suspended from your duties. At the moment, people are put onto desk duties. I think the public are aghast that is the case. And so you've got to have those standards. It protects the police, it protects the citizens of our country, and it just would, you know, we've got to rebuild that trust.
It's astonishing that you're even having to see that, to be honest with you.
Shocker, isn't it?
It is absolutely astonishing.
So excited to be here with you and to talk about the brand new album, Trust 4. So this is your 9th studio album.
Right? Crazy.
Crazy. It's gone so quick.
I know.
After 9 albums, how do you still find inspiration to write such an incredible body of music?
Thank you. Life. I'm married.
Have kids?
I'm a mom. The world's falling apart. There's a lot to talk about.
You know, it's perfect because everybody has experienced something that you've spoken about throughout this album. And there are so many songs for me that are so relatable. So how do you feel when people actually come up to you and they say to you, you've helped me through this situation or you've got me through this part and this stage of my life?
It's my favorite part. That's why I love shows, because to me it's group therapy and we're all there to exercise our demons. Yeah.
So Trustful, the album, obviously it's about trusting. When has there been a moment for you where you've had to just trust your gut and just go with it and know that it'll be okay?
Every single day.
Really?
Every single day. I mean, we've had the rug pulled out from under us. It's a really scary world. We have to find people that we can trust. We have to learn how to trust ourselves.
And what do you teach Willow and Jameson about trusting their gut?
We have such good conversations. I mean, you start early. That little voice inside of you that tells you right and wrong. And Willow is such a rule follower, which is so weird to me. She gets like straight A's and she's brilliant. I'm like, who are you? You didn't come out of me. But she's amazing, and Jameson's a little comedian.
Your daughter Willow, you did a little song with her, didn't you? Will we be expecting any more?
I don't know. She's very unbothered by it all. She could care less. I had her come out at Bottle Rock in front of 40,000 people and sing her Cover Me in Sunshine, and she was so unfazed. And I leaned down, I was like, are you okay, baby? Wave. And she goes, can I go eat my candy? I'm like, that's all you're thinking about.
And will she be going on tour with you?
Yeah.
Yes.
She has a job on tour. She works Dancers Quick Change. She works hard, too. It's a 2-hour, it's full on. So she earns that money.
We have to talk about your tours because they are incredible. Gymnastics, you're flying throughout the air, you're flying off cliffs in your latest video.
Yes.
Where does all of this inspiration come from? And you do it all yourself.
I don't know why I do it. Half of the stuff I do, I'm like, why am I up here? This is terrifying.
It's too late.
Yeah, at that point, it's too late.
Obviously, I wanted to play the Trustful game with you, but I don't think insurance is going to cover that, so
I don't know if I would do it.
Do that another time.
Okay.
But what I do want to do is play a little game.
Okay.
It is about trust. It's called Two Truths and a Lie.
Okay.
So we're going to test how well you're trusting your gut about your own music
Lord.
career.
Okay.
Number 1, you are the most played female artist of the 21st century in the UK.
That's a lie.
Number 2, you're working with Dolly Parton on her new record.
Okay.
Number 3, you actually use a stunt double.
Oh. I'm the most played female.
You are the most played female artist of the 21st century in the UK.
That's a very strange sentence.
How cool is that? How does that make you feel?
That's embarrassed.
Really?
I don't know.
No, that's an amazing
do well with
achievement.
positive reinforcement.
Oh my God, well take it. I'm giving it all to you. That's incredible. Pink, thank you so much. It's been amazing
thank
speaking
you.
with you. All the best with the new album and the tour as well.
You.
And yeah, all the success in the world.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Now, we have some royal news and making the front of the Mirror this morning. These never-seen-before photographs of Princess Diana, and royal editor Russell Myers is behind the story. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is like gold dust, isn't it, for someone like you?
Yes, it is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us where they've come from, why they're out there now.
Well, they are a little bit shrouded in mystery, and they are a treasure trove of artefacts. And I would argue that the royal memorabilia is at an all-time high. Of course, we've had the sad death of Her Majesty the Queen, but we've got the coronation coming up. Now, these are pictures of happier times, and we had Princess Diana, now the King Charles, with their 3-month-old son, Prince William. And these were taken back in September 1982 at Balmoral, taken, we believe, by a British businessman called Baron King. He was behind British Airways back in the 80s. And, I mean, just an absolute treasure trove. Now, the auctioneers who we've spoken to have said pretty much the sky is the limit, and we've sort of compare it to some...
Is Baron King family or the estate putting these up for auction?
Well, again, they are shrouded in
say.
mystery, and we will only find out when we come to the auction, and that will be on March the 4th at 10 a.m. The Willingham Auctions in Cambridgeshire are selling them. And I think we compare it to some of the letters that recently sold. There was a treasure trove of letters from Princess Diana to some friends where she spoke about the sort of trials and tribulations of her marriage. Now, they went for about 150 grand, and there was only a few of them. Now, we've got 22 photos, including all the negatives, the original folders from the photo developing company. So, you know, fill your boots. If you are a fan of royal memorabilia and you've got a few quid in your pocket, this will be definitely for you.
It's interesting, because that photograph of Prince Charles beaming from ear to ear with a newborn baby. You know, we've just heard all about Harry and his criticisms of his father's parenting and all of that. I mean, it's kind of it feels very personal to be selling something like... Do you know what I mean? To me, it feels like...
No.
Shouldn't it just go back to the family?
It
feels a bit awkward to me.
And it's almost like a time capsule, isn't it? It's something that belongs maybe in the British Museum almost.
Right.
Because we have here a family who are just enjoying the joys of parenthood and at the Queen's favourite spots in Balmoral. So let's see where they go. But, yeah, if at William & Auctions, March the 4th, 10 a.m. if you're interested.
You're so funny. Olly Ricks is here, who plays Matthew, of course. This is the big moment.
Yeah.
Now, you went to extraordinary lengths, I'm told, on the day of filming this to make it, I mean, as real for you as the groom as it could be. Tell us about that. I find it mind-blowing.
Yeah, I did what I could. I mean, it was a busy day and lots and lots of people in the church, and there wasn't much time to put a plan in place, but I did everything I could to make sure that I didn't see Helen before she arrived on set. I had no idea what the dress was going to look like, and I spoke to the guys dropping us down there, and I said, look, please make sure we don't cross paths. I don't want to see her until I see her walking down the aisle. And amazingly, it worked, and it was a bit of a sort of heart-stopping moment.
That's I mean, I think that's astonishing that you did that. So when we see on Sunday night the moment, presumably the shot of you turning around as Matthew and seeing Trixie, that is I mean, that's not rehearsed. Like that's how you reacted.
Yeah, yeah.
And was it emotional for you? I mean, did you feel it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I felt a lot of responsibility towards Helen and Trixie. Helen's been doing the show for over a decade.
Yes.
You know, she's a really much-loved character, and I just wanted to do what I could to sort of safeguard the day and make sure it was about her and a good day for her.
And do you find that when you're wandering around as Olly Ricks, that people just go, listen, make sure you look after her?
Yeah, for sure.
She's our treasure, our
They've
Trixie.
eased off a bit. The first couple of series when they couldn't work me out or
whether you were going to mess her around.
Stick around, yeah.
Yes.
So I get a lot of warnings, but yeah, people are just excited now.
Yeah, and now it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think it moves into the 70s, doesn't it? I think in the next series, and you're obviously in it. What I find fascinating is sort of, obviously, you've seen the changing role of women, how society changed around their preconceptions and their biases and so on. I wonder whether, because Matthew is very well-heeled, he's well-to-do, isn't he? Is there any tension, do you think, between, because often women did give up their jobs once they married and so on. Do you know if that's going to be explored in any way?
Well, I mean, of the two of them, Matthew's the one who's given up his job already. I mean, he's a barrister, and he's not practicing and hasn't been since his wife died in the series he's introduced in. So, I mean, she's the one working and he's the one not working, and I don't really think that's going to change.
No,
I don't think it's what their relationship's about, sort of hanging everything up and putting slippers on. And...
Yeah. And I know that as you say, for Helen George, being in the church, it's one of those rare occasions where the entire cast that she's worked with for a decade are all in the same scene at the same time.
Yeah.
So how was she? Could you tell that Trixie herself was feeling a lot, and Helen herself was feeling it on the day?
Yeah, I think so. It's a beautiful church. I think it was called St. Luke's. It's in Chelsea. And... it's always lovely when you get all the cast together.
Yes.
It's quite a special thing. But people stand up to give readings and do the things you do at
wow.
weddings.
It must have felt as close to real as possible.
Yeah, it was
the way you
dry run.
Yeah.
I've never been married before, but I feel like I've kind of heard some good practice.
You feel like
now.
You've done it now, yeah.
Yes.
And what's fascinating is, and this, I know Helen George has talked about this, but the very first time you had to have your romantic kiss was the least... romantic. You couldn't see it. Just awful. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, I think she said it was the least sexy, romantic thing she'd ever done.
Yes. Great. Well done, Olly.
It's a pretty... I've had worse reviews.
Just tell us what happened.
I think it was because we had this massive sort of perspex sheet between us, and we were still filming with social distancing and all the restrictions from the pandemic, so we'd sort of kiss it like two sucker fish, and...
Oh, you had to kiss the perspex
We literally
screen.
had to sort of bump up
That is
against
so
the screen, and
gross.
it was just bizarre.
It is so gross.
Yeah, hopefully I won't have to do that ever again.
And where will you... Have you seen the final episode? Have you seen the full... So on Sunday, will you be watching it?
I think I probably will, yeah. I don't normally watch things I'm in.
Because it's difficult to watch yourself back, I guess. Once you've done it, you've done it.
Yeah. It's not yours anymore. You know, it belongs to the audience.
It really does.
So,
it really does.
But
well,
I think I will this time.
Yeah, well, congratulations on making Trixie happy. It's what we all wanted. Call the Midwife continues on Sunday, 8 p.m. on BBC One. Thanks so much, Olly. Lovely to meet you.